Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined by my regular line mates here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Chris Nilan and Rick Green. Head coach Marty St. Louis said the Canadiens played probably their worst game of the season Tuesday night, losing 5-4 in a shootout to the Philadelphia Flyers at the Bell Center. Rick, you watched the game. What was your biggest concern watching it?
Well, tough first period, obviously, when you get outshot, 11-2, you're not having possession of the puck too often. And for whatever reason, they came out flat and they were behind, and, everything they were doing wasn't in sync, and things that we have seen in other games, they were well connected. But this one was a disaster. They get behind early like that. Everything seemed to be going into the net. And I thought for sure it's going to be a major blowout, but we haven't seen much of this where they were that bad. But this was painful, and they were lucky that they weathered that storm and were able to come back. But they hopefully will learn from that and find a way to have those type of things not happen again. But they were terrible, and obviously. It was tough to see the performance of a lot of guys in the first period.
Well, they were still able to come out with a point, Knuckles, and Marty also said after the game that 82-game season, you're going to have games like this. Is that the way you look at this and just sweep it under the rug and move on?
Yeah, I guess. Listen, the way they started the game was horrendous. The puck goes into the end. Carrier goes in on the puck carrier in the boards, like poke checking, not taking the body, like with his stick. And then there's three guys on one guy below the goal line. Hello? Guy, connect me, whoever, number 10, wide open the slot. No one's covering him. Galley's on the wall. The puck comes to him, soft on the wall. That's his bread and butter. And it gets turned over, coverage is loose, and it's in the net. And you start off on the wrong foot. And then it continued. I watched the replays. I was at an event last night. I couldn't watch the game, but I watched the replays. And, the coach watches them in the morning because he wants to see him again. And by looking at them, you can tell, certainly it's a lot easier to pick out the mistakes. But when you're on the ice, you have to understand what you're doing out there and play as a team. And when you're not ready to play, you get it stuck right up the old asshole.
Rick, Marty St. Louis made it clear after the morning skate that he wants Sam Montembeault to be his number one goalie. He wants him to gain confidence. Started him again against the Flyers. Felt bad for Montembeault at the beginning. First goal, a deflection from the high slot, then a 5-on-3 goal, 5-on-4 goal. He played really well after that, though. And biggest reason they ended up with a point. But were you surprised, Rick, that Marty decided to go with Montembeault again instead of putting Dobish in?
No, not really. But I was, I was feeling for him when they get 3 goals and 6 shots. I mean, everything seemed to be going by him instead of hitting him. And there's a kid that they're hoping to get back to his A game, and in order for him to do that, he has to play. And Marty St. Louis has a pretty good feel and understanding what he needs to do. And, he gives him the opportunity to fight his way through a little bit of his struggle time. And that's one thing about goaltending. They can turn around pretty quickly from one game to the next. And you don't want to show a lack of confidence as a coach and as a group that the goalie's not going to be there for him. And I think it's a good indication that they want him to get his game back, and they'll give him the opportunity and give him the time to see if he can find it. And it was tough way to start, but he made 42 saves, made some key saves. It could have been even worse than that score-wise, but with time, I think that he'll find his game back, and I hope sooner than later.
After the game, Knuckles, Kirby Dach, and Noah Doffs were both saying how they still have confidence in Montembeault. They were happy to see him bounce back. He heard some mock cheers in the first period there, shot from the red line. He said he heard them, but at the end of the game, they were chanting his name, Monty, Monty. But just your thoughts on Marty starting him, and just the way the crowd, how tough it must be being a goaltender. I mean, it's happened to Patrick Waugh, it's happened to Carey Price, those mock cheers. It takes a special kind of guy, I think, to play goalie in Montreal.
Yeah, and listen, was I surprised he started? Not so much, because I get the mindset of it. And Dobesh is a battler. Look, on the road, they play him on the road more, right? Give him the road games. And you know, I think Monty, again, he doesn't have his game where he wants it. 42 shots. Listen, let's face it, the PK wasn't what it was or where it should be when you look at from last year. Yoel Armia was a pretty good penalty killer, right? They miss him now. And I'm not saying the other guys can't do the job and eventually adjust and get it, but that's going to take time. You know, it's going to take time for that to get where you want. What do they say always? Your goaltender is your best penalty killer. Well, you know, I get the 5-on-3. That's, you know, sometimes you're going to kill him, but chances are that's going to, you know, any good team should be able to certainly get very good scoring chances and score on it. And they did. But, yeah, I wasn't surprised so much. I think Joe Besh is like the road warrior. Will he get it start at home again? Yeah, but I think he's a guy, he's on the road. He doesn't get flustered. He's not intimidated.
Part of me wondered if maybe Marty thought the Philly game would be the easier game than New Jersey Thursday night, and maybe that factored into the decision too. It'd be interesting to see. I imagine we're going to see Dobish in net Thursday. Knuckles mentioned the penalty kill there, Rick. One of the guys who's been on the penalty kill this year is Alex Newhook. He's off to a good start offensively this season, playing with Demidov and Kapanen. How much do you think putting him on the PK has maybe contributed to that and getting him more involved in the game?
Well, I think Marty is giving him a great vote of confidence by putting him in that situation. And, you know, one thing about Newhook, he's a smart player. He's a quick player. We know that he brings a lot. He's getting involved. I find him really, really involved more physically and really wanting to pay the price in all areas. And he's getting some results. He's playing really, really well. And it's nice to see him on the penalty kill, because he does keep the opposition thinking about, you know, what he can do and what he can bring. And he's got his game going pretty well now, and I'm really happy for him. And, you know, he's getting some results with some big goals and doing a good job for them.
It's a little bit like when Paul Byron was on the PK, I think, with that speed, right? He's a threat also to, if he gets a breakaway, to go in and score a goal. But what have you liked about him so far this year, Knuckles?
Listen, he looks more ready. He looks like more assertive in his game. You know, Alex got a lot of speed and a lot of quickness. And, again, that PK part of it for him, it's going to take a little time. It's not like he's not a smart hockey player. He is. And I think he'll pick up on it. But that's a lot to do with, too, that the way you jive with your partner out there. You know, you work together as those two forwards. Certainly you work with the D, but those two forwards working together got to be, you know, in sync, knowing what they're doing, playing off one another. And that takes time when you're in a new position. But listen, he has got off to a good start. I hope that continues, because he can really, really contribute to this team, that secondary scoring.
Yeah, he was saying the other day, it's strange. He's actually the oldest guy in a line. That's the first time he's had that. I know my son had a funny line last year. He was saying he plays like, he skates like bees are chasing him, sort of going all over the place. And Marty has worked with him this year to try and use his speed more effectively, both offensively and defensively. And I think we're starting to see that. And Rick, another player that Marty's put a lot of work into is Juraj Slafkovsky. 6 goals in the first 13 games. Last season, it took him 43 games to get 6 goals. He's always been a slow starter and a strong finisher since he's come into the NHL. What's the big difference you see in him this season? Well,
there's a classic example of a kid that, you know, is developing confidence in what he needs to do each and every night. And he's unbelievably strong and big and his presence around the net. And I believe that he's one of the top in the league for winning the one-on-one battle. So he's really, really complimenting the other guys on his line by getting in the corners, winning those battles. But his job is really to use his size in front of the net. And when he has the opportunity, he's using his shot. And great to see. He's a great kid, and he's a hardworking kid, and it's nice to see what he's bringing to the team, and obviously to help complement his line mates also.
Yeah, I mean, he said, Knuckles, that he needs to play more like Brady Tkachuk. I think we're maybe seeing a little bit of that coming out, and it needs to be more consistent. I think moving him from the wall to the middle in the power play, I think, was a really smart move by Marty also. Do you see a little bit of Brady Tkachuk in him?
Yeah, listen, but Tkachuk obviously was brought along differently. When you look at your age, he played in the big rink growing up, and he come over. He's a boy in a man's body when he got here, right? Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. he had to learn how to use that. He had to learn the league. He had to mature some, and it took him some time. And I look at him this year, like he's dominating on the wall in the corners, on the half wall. Sometimes, when you talk about his passing ability, he's a good passer, but there's times he doesn't get it through, or he doesn't make the right decision. He is so much better down low in front than that. He's controlling the puck now. And we talked about him last year. When he's not skating, he's not effective. Totally. But that's got to be his game. When you're a big man, you got to get involved early. You got to get your feet moving. You got to keep moving. And I've seen that in him this year. Once he gets body position on you, it's really difficult to retain it as a player. And when you're on his backside looking at his numbers, he got his ass in you, his strength, he's hanging on to the puck. Those are things that make a difference, especially come playoff time. You got a guy that got to control down low and hang on to the puck. Offensive zone time. And I'm not saying he's Jagger, but Jagger used to do that, right? He'd get the puck and stick his ass out. You couldn't get it from him. He was like, see you later. Those type of players, come crunch time, and those are the players that are really going to help you win hockey games. And it's great to see. Yeah, the 6 goals are great, but the rest of his game is coming together.
Well, he's the first number 1 overall pick the Canadiens have had since Dach Wickenheiser in 1980, Knuckles. And you were with the Habs back then, right? The pressure coming, I mean, it's different times, obviously, but the pressure of coming in as a number 1 pick, how much impact did that maybe have on Wickenheiser back in the day? That maybe it's a similar thing with Slafkovsky.
It had a ton on Wick. Listen, it's a big difference when you pick Wickenheiser over Denny Savard, where they picked Slafkovsky over who?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Not a French-Canadian player who ended up being a superstar. Wick felt that pressure, no question about it, but he got banned. He wasn't there opening night. Like, man, it started off bad for him. Like, they didn't help
opening night against Chicago and Denny Savard.
They
also,
did
right?
not help Wick,
yeah.
And to say he didn't help himself, I don't know about that. They could have handled him better, I believe, and they didn't. And you look who was. I'm not pointing finger, but the front office was different back then. There was a transition going on, and certainly Wick. That was tough, but a big difference.
Yeah, well, Rick, Kirby Dach wasn't a number 1 pick. He was a number 3 pick overall by the Chicago Blackhawks. 2 goals against the Flyers. It looks like he's starting to find his game. What do you like about what you've seen from him recently?
For me, Kirby is playing really well. I find him skating better. I think that he's not worried so much about injury. He seems to be involved, and I think this physical play with a big guy like that is really helping his overall game. And it's great to see that he's getting some results and some chances to score and capitalizing. And this kid has been under the gun to get things done in the organization, and just continually struggled with injuries. And now hopefully he's turned the corner, and we can see that he's feeling more confident, and he's bringing parts of the game that we were hoping to see from him earlier on. So hopefully it will continue, because he's again a really a good kid that wants to do well, and he's deserving of having some success finally.
Knuckles, you can relate to what he's going through, right? You had a knee injury early in your career also, right?
No, I didn't get a knee injury till the 7-year mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, listen, here's the deal. The injuries and mentally and emotionally for him has been very difficult. It goes back to World Junior, then Chicago, and then the big knee injury here, and then he comes back and, well, another one. Oh, my God. How do you deal with that mentally? The expectation for him was to come in here and fill a void. He's struggled doing that because of the injuries. Honestly, if I could say one thing to him, I would say, listen, you got to put, and it's hard, you got to put that out of your head. It's mental. You have to go play what got you to the NHL. And when you're thinking about, oh my God, my knee, this or that, it can hamper you. I know I had that situation when I first came back. I had a brace on. I was out there like, I don't want to hurt my knee again, what I just went through. And like 3 games, I'm there. What am I doing? I threw the brace in the trash. I did. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up just going and playing. Go play. Do what you do. If you get hurt again, you get hurt again. But you can't tiptoe through the tulips. I couldn't anyway. And I've seen a change in him this year. He's played well. Yeah, he's got some good scoring chances. Before last night, he's gone to the net with the puck at times, right? Where you could be vulnerable there when you're coming across and a D-man's coming over at you. You never know what you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit low. You might catch a knee, something like that. So I've seen some really promising signs, and last night was awesome for him. I'm happy for that kid. That's a lot of crap to go through in your young career. Tough on him.
His nonchalant style of play that I had seen before, was not obviously working for him, because he was getting hit. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't ready. And, he got hit a number of times because he wasn't ready. And I see him much more assertive in his game in all areas. And now he's ready. He knows that somebody's coming at him. He's ready for the hit. He's ready to give a hit. And his play is an indication of, he's understanding how to be ready and be, able to bring a good part of his skill set to each and every game. And I like I said, I hope it continues.
And Rick, Stu, Rick knows all about nonchalant, you know what I mean? And the only time he wasn't is when I was on the ice with him in practice.
Did you guys go at each other pretty good?
You got to pick your spots. That's all I can say.
Well, Rick, and I mean, you were a number 1 overall pick, but another first-round pick the Canadiens have now is Joe Valeno, the only kid from Quebec to ever get exceptional player status to play in the QMJHL at age 15. He's struggled in the NHL to find the role. He hasn't been able to be that offensive guy in the NHL. Marty's using him now like as a fourth-line forward. He seems to be using his size a little better. What have you liked about him this season with the Canadiens?
He's trying hard. I mean, he has no points. He's trying to do what he needs to do to stay in the lineup. And, he's a good size kid. He wants to contribute. And, time will tell as we move forward if he's going to be able to do a little bit more offensively. But it's what we see is what we get. We're hoping that he can contribute and chip in here and there. But he's a good kid. He's dependable. He's not afraid. He goes to the net. He's got a lot of good things, good characteristics in his game. Now we just have to hopefully see him contribute a little bit more offensively.
He seems to be trying to play physical, Knuckles. He even dropped the gloves. He said it was the 3rd fight he's ever had in the NHL, coming to the defensive carrier. What do you like about what you've seen from him?
Listen, yeah, he wants to get involved. It's really difficult for a player to go from one style to another, right? You have to make adjustments. Bobby Carpenter, 50-goal scorer, Washington, all that. And then he had a horrific injury to his kneecap. He comes back. Jacques Lemaire turned him into a checking centerman, killing penalties. and he had a lengthy career because of that. But he was willing to accept that. I'm sure Valeno is too, but it takes time to, and I guess temper the expectation of yourself from being I was a first round pick. I'm going to score goals. I'm going to play offense. And then all of a sudden you're in this new role. You got to adjust to it and accept it. And, the physical part, like again, last night he played 11 minutes and 15 seconds. He had one hit. When you're in that role, you got to hit more than that. You got to be, and I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying you got to bring that game, that grittier game when you're in that role. And that's something he's going to have to continue to do and certainly expound on what he's done already. So, we'll see. There's certainly a feeling out process, coach, player, coach, team, all that. I want to see more from him, but I like the kid. He's a good kid too.
Yeah, I think it's harder to be physical when it doesn't come naturally to you also. But, you're talking about guys finding a new role, Knuckles. Your buddy Guy Carbonneau, your former line mate, right? Scoring sensation in junior. And Marty talked about this the other day. He said there's a lot of guys that don't accept a new role in the NHL or aren't able to create a new game, and they don't realize that you can have a long, successful career by doing that. He used Jake Evans as an example. But for Carbo, did you guys ever talk about how he made that adjustment from
I've seen it and heard it when it was happening. Listen, I knew what did he have his last year junior? 160 points or something?
Yeah, something. Like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so the expectation, he's going to come in here and he's going to light it up. Lemaire got a hold of him and certainly put him in a role and said, listen, you're going to have to play both ends of the ring. Quite like Jacques Lemaire did. Now, Lemaire covered for Shuddy and Lafleur. Look at the numbers those guys had playing with him. And who do you think was taking care of the defensive zone? Jacques Lemaire. So he put that on Guy. And then he gave Guy his version of shutting Lemaire, Gainey and Nilan. So he didn't get as many points, but we were checking line. He defined our role. Cabo was an awesome penalty killer, great centerman, blocked shots, really hockey sense. Like Cobb was a really smart player, and it shows where he is today and what he did in his career. It was awesome, and it was awesome to play with those guys. But Jock, he said, I'm gonna work with this kid, and we're gonna define his role, and here's what he's going to do. And he accepted it, and good on him.
Yeah, just looked it up quick there.
We had a lot of
last year in junior. Sorry, Rick. Carbonneau's last year in junior with Chicoutimi, 72 games played, 72 goals, 110 assists, 182 points.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just going to say, the system that we played back then too, we relied on the centerman helping out. There was a no-brainer. The centerman was always down working deep. And everybody kind of groomed their game to that style where we knew that the centerman was going to be there working with us. And, everybody kind of filled in and understood that that's the way they have to play. And Carbo, he was good at it. I know that I killed a lot of penalties with him, and we had a good time and everybody understanding what they need to do. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the sentiment bailing out the D again.
Well, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. I hope you all enjoyed it out there. We'll have 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so you can look for those. The Canadiens are back in action Thursday night in New Jersey against the Devils, and then play the Utah Mammoth Saturday night at the Bell Center. Enjoy the games, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel.